Well, we're greeting you again from Tryon, North Carolina, with a special guest who's spent a lot of years here. In fact, I think most of his life, and we may even get him to tell us how old he is before we're through, but that isn't a requisite for being on this little chatterbox program with me. I'm Deanie Pellegrin, and through the courtesy of the Tryon Daily Bulletin, we're letting you get acquainted with some of the interesting people who live here. Some were born here, some were imported, like myself, and makes for an interesting community. I'm talking to Mr. JamesCowan. Am I right, James?
James is right. JamesCowan.
JamesCowan. And he's right in the heart of things here in Tryon, and has been kind of in the heart of things, except for some military service for all of his life. And I thought, he has a lot of things to tell about the old town. And Mr. Cowan, you know what? I say that Tryon is just a dot on the map, but it's also the crossroads of the world.
Yes, it is, right. It's no place like Tryon, I'll tell you that right now.
And everyone comes in.
There's been a lot of people, a lot of real famous people, that's visited here, especially when Oak Hall Hotel and Thousand Pine Inn and all them was in business, especially Oak Hall Hotel. They had a lot of dignitaries that come here and movie stars and everything else, I think, yeah.
Well, maybe you can recall a few of those as we get into our little conversation here. But there's one thing. Oh, wait a minute. We're going to have to stop the program for just a minute because I hear the trains coming down the track. Well, we'll just be quiet for a minute till it gets by because it's noisy. Passed through pretty quickly, didn't it?
It went by fast, yeah. It usually does,
Yeah, but do you remember when the trains were a regular thing through the town and right across the street from your hardware store?
Oh, yes, I remember it was right across the street from my hardware store. And, of course, I also lived over here in just the other side above the schoolhouse. And at night, I could lay awake at night and hear them coming off of the mountain up there, up from Saluda down. And the first crossing, they'd go, the next crossing, on down a little further later on, you hear it go, then when they get to the crossing right there at the house, they go, well, yeah, but you never could hear them when you was asleep. You had to be awake. If you was asleep, they just went on by and you didn't even know it. But it's amazing how you get used to it.
Nature adjusts to its vicinity.
That's right. Yeah, That's right. Mm-hmm.
Well, you've, as I said, you've been here all your life. You started out. You now, of course, have the hardware right in the center of town, and but it didn't always start out as a hardware. Your father started a business here. What year?
No, Daddy was first in the grocery business. In May of 1933, he bought the building that's part of the hardware's in now. He bought it, and he put the grocery store in it. And then later on, he run the grocery store. When he went out and took orders from people and delivered them, carried the grocery, delivered them to the people. Ah. And in the towns, at then we had meal towns and places like that.
We could have need for home delivery now with the price of gasoline.
Well, that's true too, yeah. But we delivered groceries up until actually when we closed the grocery store down in January of 1997, we were still delivering groceries up until that time.
Wait a minute, 97? 1997?
1997 is when we closed the grocery store down.
Well, I can see why grocery stores is very competitive now with the big chain stores who buy in volume and so forth. Right. But you didn't all go out of business then?
No. We just closed it down, and then the family just got, with competition and different things, just got where you couldn't really afford to hire good help to do what needed to be done. So we decided just to liquidate it.
Okay. So then from the grocery store, what happened? That's when you went
Well, but even before the grocery store now, before we closed the grocery store, now, when Daddy went in business in May of 33, and then in the late 30s, he bought the building next door, which is part of the hardware today, and Mama put a dry goods store in it. Ah. But now, when World War II broke out, the clothing got where they couldn't get clothing too well, so he got rid of the clothing store and put in a feed store. Started selling Purina livestock feed, cow feed, hog feed, chicken feed, and all of that in that building. And then the grocery store was in this building, but in the late 40s, Daddy bought the property next door, right now where the Shops of Tryon is sitting. He bought that property and built that building, and he moved it over there and put a supermarket, made a supermarket out of the groceries, out of it. A big building. And then when I went off to service.
What branch of the Army or Navy? What branch of the service?
I was in regular Army. They had to draft me. I didn't volunteer to go.
It wasn't that you were a coward, but who would? I can't see why anyone would want to go in the Army except to defend our country when we've been attacked.
Yeah, right. That's true. Yeah, that's true. I mean, a lot of people, of course, a lot of people make a career out of it, and stuff like that. But I didn't have that in mind at all.
We have a lot of career people here in Tryon now who've had very successful lives and chose to settle here after living all over the world. And where were you in the Army station overseas, or was it?
No, I was. Thank goodness I was lucky enough. I was drafted in August of '53, and I had my training and everything at Fort Jackson, and I was getting ready to be shipped out from there to Fort Bragg, from Fort Bragg to Korea. But they called a truce over there, and then when they did, they just broke my company up and spread us around in different places. And thank goodness they just put me in supply room right there at Fort Jackson.
You were right at home.
I spent my time right there. I didn't have no trouble getting back and forth to the house or anything else.
Well, you were lucky. Some weren't that lucky, but it was just a matter of luck and timing, I suppose. And I'm sure that if it had been called upon that you would have volunteered anyway.
Oh, yeah, most likely I would have,
right.
As time went on.
So did you come back then and take up the business with your dad?
Well, when I came back home in July of 53, of 55, I come home and Daddy says, "Son, I think we need a good hardware store in town."
Okay.
And
everyone needs nuts and screws and bolts, don't they?
That's right. Well, they had a nice little hardware store up the street, Arledge's Hardware. It's up about the middle of the town, just right above where the empty buildings are now.
Yeah. And, which we hope will be filled up one of these days.
That's right. And so...
I interrupted your thought, didn't I? You got a hardware store.
The hardware store, yeah. And so we decided to put in the hardware. So he in January of 56, we decided to put the hardware in. So he made a deal with the Brown Rogers and Dixon Company at that time to get it, and he bought the equipment and everything. And we put if you're facing the front of the building, looking in on the left-hand side, we moved all of the feed from over here on the right-hand side.
Are we back where the feed store was?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Now
I still smell the hay.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. But anyway, we put in a hardware store in January of '56 and started the hardware because he had already moved the grocery store. See, he bought the property when he built that building over there in 1950. He moved the grocery store into it in 1950. I may have already said that. But anyway, and then all was over here was feed. But when I came back out of service, we moved that from over here. And then we had the hardware on the right-hand side and the feed on the left-hand side.
Then you had the grocery.
And the grocery store over there.
This was probably called Cowan's Block.
Yeah, I guess it's pretty good size. Actually, when my father passed away, he owned everything from where the barbershop used to be, which is where right next door to us now, where a Better Deal is. and all the way down to the thrift store where St. Luke's thrift store is. He had that parking lot.
Yeah. Okay.
He didn't own that. Andrews Furniture Company had that building, but he owned a parking lot and everything from there up to the Better Deal place.
That's a handy parking lot. I park there when I get the plug in. When I volunteer down at the thrift store.
Right, there you go. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
that's good. Right.
It's an unusual little town. I mean, having been here about 4 years myself, you're one of the first people I got to know. Right. And of course, I heard the train whistle. I mean, when people come into Cowan's, if you don't get the train whistle, then something's wrong, Mr. Cowan, because everyone gets. Oh, there's another thing you do too. We were talking music one day, and we were talking about Clyde McCoy's Sugar Blues and some of the old band, the orchestras that used to play around. Right. What's your instrument you play?
Well, it's a muted down horn, like a trombone. You know, you mute it down. When you're playing it, and it goes.
Oh, Sugar Blues. You make me want to get up and dance. We used to dance to that Sugar Blues, and he was in a high boy. Yeah, Clyde McCoy was.
That's it.
But you don't play any real music instruments.
No, I really don't play a music. I just act crazy.
Well, it takes crazy people like us to make people laugh, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
And it's become kind of your trademark. When did you start doing that, and why?
Well, I don't know. That's when I was a kid. When I was a kid, just running around in high school, I was always going. Whoa, 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 whoa.
That train was in your mind. One that went by your house.
Yeah, I was trying to get attention of my wife, really. But anyway, I finally married her. But anyway, but.
I digressed again and got you off the trend. If you're like me, I start talking about something. Do you ever go into a room and for something, and you get in there and you think, what did I come in here for?
Yeah, that's about it. You get.
But I said you were showing off in high school when you started doing this.
Yeah, I did the train whistle, and then when like I was telling you a while ago, went into the Korea. Well, I didn't go into Korea, but they drafted me in the Army during that time. And when I was in service, sitting around in the supply room, the supply sergeant and another guy just got to this messing with it, and it turned out right well.
Yeah, well, it's you get a lot of comment on that, don't you?
Oh yes, I do. Yeah, a lot of people like to hear it, and I'm usually, if I see a strange face, I'm bad to ask them, would they like to hear me sound like a train?
Well, everyone wants to hear, and I had to get this on tape because it's just a trademark with Cowan and Cowan Hardware. And as I say, you're one of the first people I got to know when I moved here. And I'm really excited now with talking to all the interesting people here. I said, we're a dot on the map, but we're the crossroads of the world.
We're right here. That's it.
I went to the store one day and met one of our fellow auxiliary members, and she introduced me to her stepson from New Zealand was with her. Oh. And he was on his way to the Tour de France.
Gracious boy, that's something. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Who you might who you run into? Yeah.
Come into Cowan's, you may run into. Did you ever have? Did Perry Como ever come into your shop when he was building?
I know he was in town and everything, but I don't recall him ever coming in the store. Now he may have been in the supermarket or something, but I was mostly over here in the hardware store.
Well, he built a house up in the Saluda area, I understand, and but people, I mean, he went around town. People didn't bother him. A lot of people didn't even recognize him. He, I guess, was unshaven or had on his old work clothes and just having a ball. But he was. I wish he'd lived long enough. I could have met him. Wouldn't that have been a great thing to have him living here now?
Yeah, I guess it sure would have. Yeah, would.
But we have other people interesting here. The author Paul Reed, who's living here now. I'm trying to read his book. Oh, I'm reliving the war years. The Last Lion on the church.
I've been seeing that in the bulletin and places.
Have you read it yet?
I haven't read it.
Well,
I'm not much of a reader. I'm terrible.
Make yourself read. I think you would, being in service, I think you would not enjoy it, but it would bring back a lot of memories to you and what a great person we had in Churchill at the time. He probably saved the United States from Germany.
Oh, yeah, he was a great man. He really was. Yeah, Churchill Churchill. Yeah.
But anyway, we have, Paul Reed here. We have other people here who have great talents that maybe aren't as well known worldwide, but have made their name. Their name goes down in local history books as being someone who was very interesting. And the thing, Mr. Cowan, that I like about living here now to spend the rest of my life is unless they run me out of town.
Right, not likely.
But it's the fact that the people who come here, they say, oh, they retired here. But people I've found don't retire here. They come here to live, but they contribute yet to the community.
Oh, well, they put a lot into it. You'd be surprised how many people really, well, you'd have to give them credit for town. I expect they've helped it more than anybody really knows, because a lot of different things has happened, and a lot of different getting involved in little theaters and different things.
The Arts Center. I said, what town? And as Mayor Peebles, on one of our first talks with the people here locally, said, where will you find another town with only 2,000 population with 4 bookstores?
Yeah, I guess that's true. You wouldn't.
So you've got to start reading here, Mr. Cowan, before you get too old to read.
Oh, maybe not. Yeah.
You're like Old Man River. You'll just keep going along, won't you?
September, I turned 80 years old. So.
Oh, I got your baby yet. I've got you.
Yeah, and I was born. By the way, I was born inside the city limits of Tryon, and I still live inside the city limits of Tryon.
So you've had 80.
I've had this past September 80 years. I was 80 years old this past September.
Well, you're still a young man compared to a lot of the residents here.
There's some 96, 98, there's even some in 100, so. So I've got a way to go yet.
Yeah. Well, just keep busy. I think that we grow old. Let's see, how is this saying? I know it well, but I'm like you, my mind went blank. We don't grow old because we stop working. We don't grow old because we stop living. We grow old because we stop working. What is that expression?
I don't know what it is, but I know what you're trying to say, right.
You get old if you don't keep busy.
If you don't, that's right. Yeah. You need to keep busy.
Right.
That's what keeps you going, because if you just sit, well, anybody, if you can sit down and you stay there an hour or two and you go to get up, you know how it is.
Yeah, it's easy.
But if you stay on your feet and keep walking, then it don't bother you nowhere near as much.
Right,
that's right.
So get out and get busy. That's what people are doing here, and that's why I think it will never grow into a metropolitan area, but it's close enough. If you have to travel any great distance, or we're close to bigger cities with airports, we're off main highways, and we're just stuck here in the mountains having a good time.
Right, that's it. That's it exactly. Right.
Well, I want to thank you, Mr. James Cowan, for letting me sit here in the back of what used to be the feed store.
Yeah.
And maybe we can talk again sometimes. You think of something interesting that happened in the past, we'll get it on tape so people will know about it.
Never know. That's right.
Good deal. Well, thank you so much. Let's sign. Oh, wait a minute. Here comes a train. We're going to have to get out of the way. All aboard.
All aboard. That's right.
Thank you.
Oh,
and
thank you.
Have a good day.
Oh, you too.